Hello from CSsR Monastery, CSsR Retreat House Chapel. And welcome. My name is Seamus, Devitt, a Redemptorist here on the team in the community here in CSsR. And I want to talk to you about brokenness and brilliance, and how brilliance can follow from brokenness. I was at the ploughing championship last September, and it was a wonderful experience. And I loved when I got a chance to wander away from the stand, the Redemptorist stand that we had, and to wander out around, explore, and particularly to watch the ploughing, the horse ploughing in particular. I didn't go to the other, but the horse ploughing, to see the expertise and the care, and the horses, great big horses nearly always, and the care with the plough itself and with the equipment and how they follow that line. What you notice about that is that the very plough itself is shining brightly. And the reason it's shining is because it's meeting the rough earth, and it's rubbing against the rough earth, and the very roughness of the earth that it's going through made it shine. Last week I saw on Facebook a photograph sent by a friend, who put up by a friend in New Zealand, showing the winter fire that he had down in his house, and just looking at the winter fire, and it brought back memories of sitting around the fire at home, sitting curled up maybe with a book or sitting with the family. And then the fire, which seems to be banked up and quiet, suddenly collapses. The crust breaks and the fire collapses. And then you see right into the very heart of the fire, and it's brilliant inside. So sometimes collapsing, sometimes buckling can bring brilliance itself. Nobody ever told us what happened to Humpty Dumpty when he fell off the wall and had a great fall. But maybe Humpty Dumpty got back together again after the great fall. A forest, sometimes when we see photographs of a forest fire, and days after the fire is over, you'll see new growth. So there's hope there, even in the darkest times. And we're going through difficult times with all of the COVID-19 going on at the moment, and with the Black Lives Matter and the death of George Floyd. All of that is disturbing. There's a challenge here. Something is breaking, and please God, racism will buckle and fall, and something more brilliant will come from it. A poem that I learned in school in some way or other, but never really understood. The words were difficult in a way for me. But yet, years later, it has come to have a lot of meaning for me. And right through the Easter season and the Lenten season, I've read it many times from this prayer book that we have. And the image is of a falcon. It's a poem by Gerald Manley Hopkins called The Wind Hover. And it's dedicated to Christ the Lord. And here's the image of the falcon. And the falcon is so powerful and swooping and gliding and diving and hovering in ecstasy like a wimpling wing. And then off goes again. Or like a skate, the fish, the flat fish that you see sometimes on nature programs. It's great, and it seems to glide through the water with immense grace, and the long tail that just goes after it. But here's the poem itself, and I may pause in the middle of it. He speaks of the minion meaning the darling, the darling of the morning, the son of the king, the dauphin, the son of the king of France, the son of the king, and the falcon and the chevalier, a knight on horseback, as it were. And how all of these things, the brilliance and the power and the strength and everything, buckles. And what happens then? I caught this morning's minion, kingdom of daylight's dauphin, the king, dapple dawn-drawn falcon in his riding of the rolling level, underneath him steady air and striding high there. how he rung upon the rein of a wimpling wing in his ecstasy, and then off forth on swing as a skate's heel sweeps smooth on a bow bend, the hurl and gliding rebuffed the big wind. My heart in hiding stirred for a bird the achiever of the mastery of the thing. Brute beauty and valor and act, O air, pride, plume, here, buckle. And the fire that breaks from thee then, 1,000,000,000 times told lovelier, more dangerous, O my chevalier. No wonder but sheer plod makes plough down Cillian shine, and blue bleak embers, my dear, fall, gold, they gall themselves and they gash gold vermilion. The blue bleak embers, when they collapse, they gash gold vermilion. He writes it about Christ and how Christ, the powerfulness of his life and his ministry, and then at the end, the hands were nailed. He was powerless and yet more powerful than ever. He was powerless when he was nailed to the cross. And the light, the fire that broke from him then was 1,000,000,000 times told lovelier. Far more lovely than the transfiguration itself was Christ on the cross. In our own situation, we're meeting so many crises. We're in a whole world crisis with the COVID-19. We're in a world crisis about the racism, or please God, we will remain in that crisis until things change. But a crisis is an opportunity. And maybe like the plough meeting the roughness of the earth, that plough becomes more brilliant. So we are filled with hope. The world we knew that when we were flying high and everything in control, and we had the mastery of everything, or so we seemed. So it seemed for some, but not for others. That has collapsed. And instead, please God, out of the embers, we will see a fire that's a light and a warmth and a brilliance that's 1,000,000,000 times told lovelier. We do not lose heart, even when we buckle. Brilliance will follow.